On today's episode, we are going to be talking about lenses with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. What is up, everybody? James Jackson here. Today, we are talking about lenses, and lenses specifically with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. I think this is a great topic to have simply because of the codecs and the image quality and the dynamic range that you can get out of this camera. The lens options to me is far more vast than most cameras can ever dream of. So let's get right into it. Now, I heard from quite a few people that they feel that the best lens to use with the Pocket Cinema camera is the Sigma 18 to 35 millimeter f1.8. I completely disagree with that, and I will explain why. One, it's a much heavier lens than any of the lenses that I will be presenting here. Two, there is no IS. Now, this isn't as big of a deal because a lot of the lenses I'm bringing up don't have IS, but if you want to help stabilize your lenses, you definitely want to use something closer to the native mounts, which obviously the Sigma 18 to 35 doesn't. And even if you got the Micro Four Thirds, it still doesn't have IS in it. The other thing is it's not weather sealed, so having it going into really rough terrain, I just would not choose it. Now, I'm not saying the Sigma 18 to 35 is a bad lens at all. Obviously, I'm actually using it right now on the C200, but I feel it fits the C200 better. I feel like going with the Sigma 18 to 35, and the key thing of why I don't suggest the Sigma 18 to 35 is the best lens for this camera, is simply the fact that because it's reverted to Super 35 and APS-C crop sensor cameras. And what I mean by that is that you can't take the full advantage of what you have with this sensor. Yes, it's a DCI 4K sensor camera in a Micro Four Thirds mount, but you do have the ability to put adapters like the Metabone Speed Booster XL, which is far beyond even Super 35, which it gets you so close to full frame. And putting the Sigma 18 to 35 on it, it just sort of keeps you sort of bit hindrance. It sort of limits what you can do in terms of field of view. So all the cameras that I'm going to bring up are either native mounts or they are designed to work with full frame glass. Now, obviously, if you would prefer to go working with crop sensor lenses, that's perfectly fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just personally feel that these options are, to me, a bit better than the Sigma 18 to 35. So the first one I'm going to bring up is the native one, and this is the only native one I have, but I will say this. If you are looking for an all-around lens, to me, there is no better option than this lens right here, and that is this guy. This guy is the Olympus 12 to 100 millimeter f4 lens. I love this lens. To me, this is the ultimate lens to have with this camera. Number one, keep in mind, the sensor is not a Micro Four Thirds sensor. It's actually a bigger than Micro Four Thirds sensor. And what I mean by that is that instead of a 2x crop that you normally get with the Micro Four Thirds, you actually get a 1.85 times crop with this camera. So with this lens right here, instead of what would be the equivalent of a 24 to 200 millimeter, you have a 22 to 185. And understand, that's still a significant throw. And understand the distance. I'm going to show you guys clips, but the amount of range you have and the amount of play that you have with this lens is insane, and it's sharp through and through. Now, I know you guys are going to be saying, oh, but that doesn't give me enough wiggle room in low light situations. Keep in mind, you got a dual native ISO system and a really well noise reduction processing in this camera. So because of that, the low light situation is not that big of a deal. And for those of you that are maybe concerned about, oh, I'm not going to get shallow depth of field or bokeh, put this at the 100 millimeter point, and guess what you're going to get? Shallow depth of field and bokeh. What's great about this lens is the fact that you can get so close to a subject that is relatively far away, and you can do it without being disruptive. It's such a great field of range. And what's also great, as you can see here, right here, this is an IS lens. It's fully IS and it works. It sends the IS, and the IS on this lens works beautifully. So if you need something to just like a go around, this is the lens that I use most often with this camera. This is like my main 1-2 punch comp, because I can get almost every focal length that I need. I can deal with the f4 because I got the dual native ISO. If I want shallow depth of field, I'll step back and shoot at one of the telephoto ranges. But more importantly, I have IS that works beautifully. So, and by the way, this lens is weather sealed. It's completely weather sealed, and again, it works with the native mount, so which means that if you need to just get your focus in real quick, it will work with the touchscreen, and it works really well with the touchscreen on the Pocket 4K. So, if you're looking for the all-around lens, to me, this is it. I cannot recommend this enough. It's definitely pricey. This is about $1,300, but it is worth every penny, and I recommend anybody that's looking at the Pocket 4K get this. But maybe you feel, hey, this is a bit too expensive for my taste. Now, me personally, because I have this lens, I don't need any other zoom lens because I got my entire focal length of what I want. So now all the other zooms I'm going to talk about are prime lenses, but not only are they prime lenses, they're super affordable prime lenses. That if you get the Metabone Speed Booster, they all work beautifully with the XL version, which will give you the most field of view out of all of the adapters. So the first one I'm going to talk about is obviously the legendary Nifty 50. Love the image out of this lens. It's $125. It's one of the things that you should absolutely always pick up. No matter what camera you're using, you should get this lens because it's just something that you can easily have in your pocket, easily have on the go, and just get nice, beautiful shots with. It's a nice go around, and it's easy to replace if something was happened to it. This is the Rokinon Cine DS 85mm T 1.5. So if you don't familiar with T versus F, the main difference is f-stops are all estimated guesses of what your aperture is. So you may be having an f2, but really you're probably around an f3.2. This, no matter what, is always accurate. So if it's a 1.5, you're getting 1.5 of light. It's dead accurate in terms of lighting. The next thing about it is it's the long focal throw that you can have with this. So if you're doing film, if you're definitely doing film and you're rigging this up, this is a beautiful lens. It's only like, it's less than $300. I think it's like $265 if I remember correctly. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's a very affordable, I think it's like the most affordable Cine of Rokinon Cine gear. But it's a beautiful lens. I got this one because 85mm is, I feel, my signature focal length. I always film something at the 85mm length, and having something like this with where I can control more control over the focus is a beautiful thing to have. This with a follow focus is along with the Pocket 4K with the image that you can get out of, is a great combo. However, my favorite types of primes to use are actually vintage primes, simply because they have flaws that are actually great and beautiful characteristics about the image. And to me, nothing speaks more about it than this Helios 44-4M lens. So this lens is actually a Pentax mount lens, but you can easily get like a screw-on ring that you can transform it into an EF system like I have here. And with the adapter and the lens, you're talking about $60. I got this for about $56, and it is some of the most beautiful images. The bokehs, the oval curved bokehs that come out of this lens is gorgeous. The lens flares, if controlled properly, deliver some very dreamlike, very sci-fi J.J. Abrams style imagery naturally in the image. You do have to be careful with lights because it leaks, because it flares hard and does a lot of light leaks. So definitely be careful. But if you can grab yourself one of these little vintage lenses, and that's one of the things I love about vintage lenses, they're super affordable and they give you so much unique characteristics that stand you apart. The beauty about this camera, the Pocket Cinema camera, is the fact that it gives you so much flexibility in your creativity. To hinder yourself with something like a lens like the 18 to 35, again, nothing wrong with it, but it's a lens that everybody has. So to sort of limit yourself by going with what everybody else has, it makes you just another face in the crowd instead of having characteristics and traits in your images that separates you. If you have the Pocket Cinema camera, or you're waiting for your Pocket Cinema camera, or you're thinking about getting a Pocket Cinema camera, really, to me, the best thing you can do is go out, do your research on lenses and what lenses that offer traits that sort of represent you. Because that's the beauty about this camera, is that this camera helps you build your brand in terms of what you bring creatively. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment below. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Until next time, take care.